Hey everyone, it's Dara. How's everyone doing today? If you're new to my channel, welcome. And on this channel, we talk all things motivation, as well as some creativity in the mix. And I revamped my series Motivation ESL, where we talk all things about English as a second language. I am now an ESL coach, so if you are interested in becoming an ESL teacher or tutor, or you're just kind of curious about the profession, please leave a message down below or send me an email. I will provide it here for you underneath this video, and I will be happy to assist you. Thank you so much. Let's get started. So for this video, I want to spend some time talking about how to get started in your lesson. Now, this is a question that I know I personally have asked fellow colleagues, and some of you who are starting out teaching may be wondering the same thing, because when you're teaching, especially for a school, you have a curriculum, you have a syllabus, you kind of know what you have to teach, right? You may even know the materials that you're using, whether you're teaching in person or remotely, but you may not necessarily know how to get started. And this is something that stumps all of us, especially if you are a new teacher. And it's easier for experienced teachers like myself to say, okay, here's your lesson, just start. And you're wondering how. So I'm here to share some tips to help you with that. Number one, the first thing you want to do before you even get started is take a deep breath. Now, you will be hearing me say this very often because as teachers, we are so preoccupied about what it is we need to do that we forget to breathe. And I know that sounds so like, really, Dara? But truthfully, we do. And so what happens is, if you don't take those few moments, whether you're in your classroom or before you enter your classroom or before you log on to your class online, you need to take a moment to breathe, because that's going to help you relax your body. That's going to help you to prepare yourself for your lesson. Another thing I would highly recommend that you do before you even begin your class is to always review your materials. I can't tell you enough how important this is, because even if you know the materials in your head, even though you have it in front of you, you always want to make sure that you just kind of go over it one more time. You know, sometimes if you even have to practice in the mirror, I've done that, okay? It really helps, because you don't know how the lesson is going to turn out. You don't know if students are going to receive the lesson well or they will reject it, because that will happen. So you want to prepare yourself in advance. Now, when it comes to starting the lesson, okay, let's say you are teaching a grammar lesson, okay? Let's say you're teaching a beginner class and you are focusing on simple present tense, right? And you want to introduce the be verb, like I am, you are, we are, it is, okay? He is, she is. You may want to get started into that, but let's say you're kind of new to teaching grammar. Your students are definitely new to learning grammar. So sorry for the background noise. I do live in New York City. And you're wondering to yourself, how do I get started? The first thing you want to do is always do a brief, I like to say, conversation starter. For example, hello class, how are you today? Because this warms up your students. This allows your students to begin talking to you. Now, if it's a beginner class, you will have to model this, of course, but this goes for all classes. Doesn't matter if you teach in advance. Always start out by asking your students, how are you? Number one, it shows that you care, but it also is a great way to get students talking, because now you can have an idea who's willing to talk and who is willing not to talk, or who is shy or who is confident to speak. So it kind of gives you a few moments to assess your students, okay? And especially if you are a new teacher and this is a new class of students, this is very, very helpful and effective. Also, if you want to expand on this, like for example, if you're teaching an intermediate or an advanced class, you may even have something like a certain topic that you may discuss. It could be something like current events. But the point is, no matter what level of English you're teaching, you always want to get your students talking right away. This will also help you relax, and now you have an idea how to start your lesson. Another thing you want to keep in mind is, no matter what you're teaching, for example, let's go back to grammar. You always want to write out and show what you are teaching. Now, this can be done in several ways. If you are teaching in person and you have a whiteboard like the one behind me, this will become your very best friend. I personally, a little tip, when I'm teaching grammar or just anything, I like to use different color markers because that really helps to bring the lesson alive, and it also helps you to pinpoint what you want your students to see. But again, that's totally up to you. If you're doing this remotely, for example on Zoom has a feature where you can use a virtual whiteboard where you can actually write out what you want your students to see, or you can use the chat box feature. So it's really, really up to you. And of course, depending on the school that you work for, will determine what type of online software you will use. But generally speaking, you just want to introduce the topic by showing them what you're talking about. Visuals are everything. So you always want to make sure that your students can see what they're learning, and that will also help them feel more confident and comfortable with what you are talking about. Now, the other thing you want to keep in mind is as you are starting your lesson, pay attention to the facial expressions and the body language of your students. Let's focus on remotely for one moment. When you're teaching remotely, one of the biggest challenges for all of us teachers is some students will be on camera and some will not. So this can be a challenge because the students who have their cameras off, you don't know what they're doing. You don't know if they're listening, you don't know if they're understanding you, you don't know how they feel because they're off camera. I always personally try to encourage my students to be on camera, but again, it all depends on the program, the school. Some schools are very strict about that and they will require students to be on camera, and other schools are a little too more flexible. If you're doing private tutoring like myself, I would highly recommend that you make that a priority because you as the teacher and the tutor need to see if the student is understanding you, listening to you, and listening to their pronunciation. But again, it all depends. If you're teaching remotely, my best advice is always make sure you get those students involved, even if they are off camera. And one way to do that is, for example, if you're using your whiteboard, let's say you're writing a sentence using the be verb I am a student, I am a teacher, and you want students to repeat after you, you might call on the student who does not have their camera on and say, so and so, can you please read this sentence, and have them read it. Even if they are off camera, you can still listen to their pronunciation and you can get an assessment like that. But do not ignore those students. Always get everyone involved. What I like to do is, let's say that student answers your question or they read the sentence, you can say, okay, student so-and-so, can you pick someone in the class to read the next sentence? So what you're doing is you are allowing that student to be the teacher and they get to delegate to their classmate what to do. This is very effective because what you're trying to do is you're trying to make this a collaborative effort. You're trying to bring everyone together as opposed to you doing all the work. You do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, right? You want to make this conversational. You want to bring everyone together so no one feels left out, even if their camera is off. If this is in person, good morning. How are you? Welcome. Okay. So I don't want students to feel too nervous. I will help you prepare for this. I will help you. Okay. So don't worry. Don't worry too much. Okay. Any questions so far? No? Okay. Very good. So let's do a little conversation. Let's wake up a little bit, right? I would like for someone to be A and B, for example. Good morning, how are you? I am. And you? I am. But how do you feel? How was your weekend? It was. Okay. Uh-huh. What did you do? Then you tell the person, you. Whatever you did. Wow. That's great. Okay. So I need an A And a B, please. Anyone want to be A? I don't want to call on you. Raise your hand. Thank you. Please pick your classmate. You choose.
Good morning. How are you?
I am fine. And you?
I'm okay. How was your weekend?
It was very good.
What did you do?
I not understand.
I'll help you. Thank you so much. What did you do means on the weekend. Did you go outside? Did you stay home?
Stay home.
You stay home? Okay, so you.
Stay home. And you?
Okay. I stay home too. I cook ravioli for the Christmas holiday.
Nice. Good morning. How are you?
How did great?
Very nice, ladies. Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause. Yes, they did really well. Why no clapping? What happened? I clap for you. I clap. Thank you. I know it's okay, class. I know we're still waking up. I understand. No problem. No problem. It's off. If this is in person, this is very helpful because now you see each other face to face, and so you can even have students work in pairs and practice together on their own. But whichever way it goes, you want to get them involved with each other and to practice with each other. So that just reinforces the lesson and the material that they're learning. This is effective for all levels. So it doesn't matter what you're teaching, the subject matter, the amount of students in the class, the level. This really goes across the board and it's very, very helpful. But to start a lesson can be very intimidating for anybody, especially if you are a new teacher or you're an experienced teacher with a new class. It's always intimidating. So just to recap, breathe. Breathing is number one. Review your materials before you start your class. Take time to have a conversation starter, a kind of warm up to get students talking so you can kind of assess where they are. You can listen to their tone of the voice, the pronunciation. If they're on camera, if this is remotely, you can see their body language. If it's in person, you can definitely see their body language. That helps you to know how to approach the lesson and the students. And then when you are introducing the lesson, you want to get them involved right away. You don't want to just do all the talking and have them just listen to you, because then it becomes a lecture, and this is where students will start to drift off, especially if you're doing this remotely. I promise you, the students who will have their camera on will quickly turn it off and they'll put themselves on mute, and you'll say, so-and-so, are you with us? So-and-so? So-and-so, you with us, right? And this has happened to me before. So I'm just sharing the experiences that I've had remotely and in person to help you to be the best teacher that you can be, but also to help you to relieve some of those nervous, those nerves, right? Because you will feel nervous, and it will also help your students to learn effectively and comfortably, because that's the key, is to help our students to learn, but to learn comfortably and to see what they're learning and to feel confident in the process. I hope these tips have helped you today in how to start a lesson. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I would definitely love to hear back from you. If you're interested in coaching with me one-to-one, please email me, and my email address is under this video. I would be happy to assist you. And if you have any questions, or if you have any video topics relating to ESL that you would like me to address, please let me know as well. Follow me on my business Instagram, AppliedESL. Check out my website, AppliedESL.com, for all your learning needs. And if you need any books and resources to help you and your students, I have that available as well. Thank you so much, and always try your best.